The Paul Bunyan legend had its origin in the Papineau Rebellion of 1837. This was a revolt of the French Canadians against their young English queen. In the Two Mountains country, many loggers armed with mattocks, axes, and wooden forks which had been steamed and warped into hooks, stormed into battle. Among them was a mighty muscled, bellicose, bearded giant named Paul Bunyan. This forest warrior, with a mattock in one hand, and a great fork in the other, powerful as Hercules, indomitable as Spartacus, bellowing like a furious Titan, raged among the queen's troops like Samson among the Philistines. He came out of the rebellion with great fame among his own kind. His slaughters got the grandeur of legend. Later this Paul Bunyan operated a logging camp. In that day logging was heroic labor. In the autumn the loggers went to the woods, forcing their way in canoes up swift rivers. On every trip there were many wearisome portages around rapids. Snow and ice then locked them in their camps for 5 or 6 months. The workday was from dawn to dusk. The loggers lived on beans, salt pork and sourdough bread. At night there were songs and tales around the shanty stove. Of course these were mainly about their own life, their own heroes. The camp boss was like the chief of a tribe, his will had to be the law, and he had to have exceptional physical power and courage to enforce it. After his part in the rebellion there was no more famous camp chief in Canada than Paul Bunyan. It is not difficult to imagine the habitants honestly exaggerating the logging feats of the war hero as they talked about him in the New Brunswick camps, and in Maine, and in the Great Lakes pineries. And it is simple for one who has seen the two cultures together to imagine the Americans improving on the first stories about Paul Bunyan, only to ridicule his extravagant admirers, and then developing their own Paul Bunyan legend to ease their weariness when their 12-hour day was done. Other evidence supports this view of the origin of the stories. There are stories told about an Irish-French-Canadian logger, Joe Muffraw, and the name of Joe Muffraw is famous in the woods, sometimes being linked with Paul Bunyan's. Muffraw logged in the Mistassini River country in Quebec. Reportedly he bent horseshoe nails in the shape of his initials and affixed them to his boots. After the 13th drink he would kick his initials in a ceiling 8 feet high. It was the American loggers below the border who made of Paul Bunyan a true hero of camp night entertainment. They gave him Babe, the blue ox, who measured 42 axe handles and a plug of chewing tobacco between the horns. They created the marvelous mythical logging camp, with its cookhouse of mountainous size and history of Olympian feats, and they peopled this camp with astounding minor heroes. They made their Paul Bunyan an inventor and orator, and an industrialist whose labors surpassed those of Hercules. They devised a chronology for him. He ruled American life in the period between the winter of the blue snow, and the spring that the rain came up from China. By 1860 Paul Bunyan had become a genuine American legendary hero. It is true American legend now, for Paul Bunyan, as he stands today, is absolutely American from head to foot. He visualizes perfectly the American love of tall talk and tall doings, the true American exuberance and extravagance. Beginning as Paul Bunyan, soldier with Papineau, he has become the creation of whole generations of storytellers. Thousands of narrators by far-flung campfires contributed their mites to the classical picture of him. And he will live as long as there is a forest for his refuge, as long as there are shadows and whispers of trees.